Well, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, here on the C Files. I just finished two devotion times where I spent time in the Bible, and now we're back in the Quran. Um, and it's going to be Surah 6, Chapter 6, titled Cattle or Al-An'am. Uh, I last read verse 31. I'll start out in verse 32 in this particular reading. Um, you're getting the actual words of the Quran. You're not getting what Wikipedia says. You're not getting what a secondary source is saying. You're not getting what social media is saying. You're not getting what the news media is saying. You're not getting what somebody with an opinion is saying. This is the actual words of the Quran. Now, albeit translated into English, because I can't read Arabic. And even if I could and read it and speak it, you wouldn't understand it if I did it in Arabic because you speak English. So we're doing it in English, just like same with the Bible. The Bible is written in Greek and Hebrew and a little bit of a little bit of Aramaic, um, but mostly Greek and Hebrew. If I read the Old Testament books in Hebrew, most of you would not understand it. If I read most of the New Testament in Greek, most of you wouldn't understand it. We have English translations that we read so that we can understand it in our own language. And this is the same here. So I'm going to begin here. So if you, I mean, this is important because source materials, this is what it actually says. And so if if we say once we have the source material, the actual words of the Quran, and we say, well, it says this, and this is what it says, and somebody tries to deny and say, no, 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 that's not what that says, that's not what that means. It's right here. So that's how that works. And you'd say same thing about the Bible, right? All right, fleeting enjoyment. That's the heading of verse 32. This worldly life is no more than play and amusement, um, but far better is the eternal home of the hereafter for those mindful of God. Will you not then understand? Um, I know that the Quran is not Gnostic, but this verse made me think of the Gnostics. Because the Gnostics say that anything that's physical is evil, and only the spiritual is good. Um, of course, when God created the world, He said it is good. So He created a physical universe and said it is good. But the Gnostics would say no, no, physical universe is not good. Contrary to Scripture, right? Um, Now, life here is more than just play and amusement, folks. I Anyone who takes life seriously understands that our physical life on this earth has divine purpose behind it. There's a reason for our life. It has a divine purpose. God has purposed our life to be born at the time that we were born, to the family we were born to, the country we were born in, to live in the society and circumstances that we live in, all ordained by God for a purpose. Um, I had play and amusement in this life, but it's not all that it was. A lot of it was very serious. I dealt with some very serious matters. Um, and so this is almost like Ecclesiastes when Solomon is musing of this human view of life. without a divine understanding of it, that there is a ultimate purpose, and he's saying everything, it's all vanity and vexation of spirit. Well, it's not really all vanity and vexation of spirit, but from a human standpoint, a lot of what happens in life seems that way and probably is that way, but not 100%, right? Was the death of Christ on the cross vanity and vexation of spirit? No. Was his teaching to the apostles vanity and vexation of spirit? No. See what I'm saying? So, was the life of Christ play and amusement? No, it was very serious. So, this is kind of amusing here of a human view of life. The Epicureans would say, yeah, it's play and amusement. The Stoics would say, no, 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 not true. All right, we'll move on. Not the first rejected prophet, verse 33. We certainly know that what they say grieves you, O prophet. It is not your honesty they question. It is God's signs that the wrongdoers deny. Indeed, messengers before you were rejected, but patiently endured rejection and persecution until our help came to them. And God's promise to help is never broken. And you have already received some of the narratives of these messengers, excuse me. So, of course, it's the Quran. It's going to be centered around the prophet, which would be Muhammad, right? The last or final prophet. Anyone who rejects Muhammad would be in this category of 34, verse 34 says, Indeed, messengers before you were rejected, but patiently endured rejection and persecution until our help came to them. So, from the Islamic view, rejecting the prophet, um, and I guess whatever they would consider a form of persecution, is a horrible thing, right? That's against Allah, that's against God, right? Um, and so God would come to rescue them in that situation. So this is what the Quran is saying. Um, I reject Muhammad as a prophet. I mean, as a Reformed Christian, I have been of both the Baptist and Presbyterian form of Christianity. Um, I'm Reformed as far as Calvinistic doctrine, if you will. Um, I reject I reject that Muhammad was a prophet. The Quran would see me as one of these folks in verse 34, where it says, And God's promise to help is never broken. You've already received some of the narratives of these messengers. Indeed, messengers before you were rejected, but patiently endured rejection and persecution until our help came to them. Um, it's not saying a whole lot against that yet, but there are other verses that have, well, maybe 35 is going to round this up. Disbelievers, no matter what. 35. If you find their denial unbearable, then build, if you can, a tunnel through the earth or stairs to the sky. This seems metaphorical to me, not, actual building an actual tunnel through the earth. It seems to be metaphorical language, a metaphor. A tunnel through the earth or stairs to the sky to bring them a more compelling sign. Do something great, I guess is what it would be to show them a sign that they're wrong. Like I would be wrong, right? To say Muhammad's not a prophet, do something great to show them that they are wrong. So today, Muslims would have to do something great to show me that I am wrong, right? That's the idea. Okay, let me pause. I got a phone call. Well, folks, life is full of interruptions, but sometimes they're good interruptions. I about jumped out of my skin when my phone rang. It was on full volume. It's really loud when it does. I'm going to put it on silence. There we go. Let's see if we can't get back to what we were doing. There we go. So I was going to 35. Um, I kind of got stuck in a rut trying to get through 34, trying to explain something. And I think 35 is going to help. Excuse my throat. If you find their denial unbearable, then build, if you can. I read this, a tunnel through the earth or stairs to the sky. I said this is metaphorical. Um, so if I deny, so let me ask you a question based on this. Because as I'm see, this is real, folks. I'm reading this for the first time. I'm thinking my way through it as I'm reading it. So this is reality. This is for someone who's kind of analytical, um, and someone who has a theological mind, because I've spent 50 years studying the Bible and theology and all of that. I don't just read things surface level. I try to understand them. I try to stop and really, because when you're talking about a book that claims to be spiritual or divine revelation from God, you have to look at it that uh, uh, you have to look at it that way, but you also have to look at it in that the writing is going to be a little different. It's going to be different than just a normal book, like I don't know, like a Christmas Carol or something like that. That's what comes to mind because I'm reading a book on that. Um, like a novel or something like that. You have to read theological books or source material of religions differently than most other books. I guess you could say it that way. The Muslims claim that this book is a divine revelation from God. I don't believe that being a Christian, obviously. Obviously, Christians don't believe that. But I'm also reading a book that was written in the 7th century, translated into English. And so I have to keep that in mind too. So when I'm reading something like a tunnel through the earth or stairs to the sky, just as I would in the Bible, I don't say, oh, wow, they believe they could dig a tunnel all the way through the earth. They believe they could build stairs all the way up to the stars or the sky. I think, okay, we have all kinds of metaphors in our language that we use. And I would hope nobody would take those metaphors literally. And I think these are metaphors that we should not take as literal, but as an idiom, something that's spoken that it's a representation of something, if you will. Now, question, do any of you find my denial, there's a reason why I went through all that, because it has to do with what I'm reading. Do any of you find my denial of Muhammad being a prophet or the Quran being divine revelation from God, do any of you find it to be unbearable? Because this is the subject of verse 35, and somewhat of 33 and 34. If you find their denial, as an illustration, my example, unbearable, then build, if you can, a tunnel through the earth or stairs to the sky to bring them a more compelling sign. In other words, do something to convince them otherwise. So the second question would be, if you find my denial unbearable, how would you, as a Muslim, work through this verse as far as trying to obey it and do something more compelling or have some kind of a compelling sign to convince me otherwise? That would be my question here. Had God so willed, he could have guided them all. So do not be one of those ignorant of this fact. So, taking what's being said here, God could have guided me but chose not to, would be the narrative here. But may choose to do it in the future, according to how this is written. I understand the concept because of my Calvinistic method of understanding the Bible. I do understand this concept. It's similar to Calvinism in the sense that, um, Jesus told the Pharisees, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will hear. That's why he spoke in parables so that the Pharisees would not understand. He didn't, the Father did not give them eyes to see and ears to hear the truth. Spiritual eyes, spiritual ears to hear the truth, see and hear the truth. Similar concept, right? So, all right, we'll move on to 36. Deaf to the truth. 36. Only the attentive will respond to your call. As for the dead, God will raise them up, then to him they will all be returned. Only the attentive will respond to your call. So, see, I have to relate it to Christian theology because that's what I'm most familiar with. There's a general call of the gospel. It goes out to everybody. And then there is a specific call. The specific call is when God takes the word spoken, the gospel, and applies it to the heart of that individual. The Holy Spirit applies it to the heart of the individual and uses the words of God, the gospel, to regenerate their heart. That's a specific call. Now, everybody gets the general call that physically hears the words of the gospel, but not everybody gets the specific call of God to come into the fold, to come into his kingdom. Similar concept here. Only the attentive will respond to your call. Only those who are attentive to what's being spoken would come to the call. As for the dead, God will raise them up, then to him they will all be returned. So once again, resurrection is in this verse. The dead would be raised. Okay. In Christianity, the dead are raised. There's a parallel, but I hate to say parallel, but there's something that's taught in the Quran that's also taught in the Bible, death and resurrection. Then to him they will all be returned. Now, returned to where? I don't know. I don't know what it seems to be an incomplete thought. Then to him they will all return. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing any footnotes. No, not yet. 37. They ask, why has no other sign been sent down to him from his Lord? Say, O prophet, God certainly has the power to send down a sign, though most of them do not know. All right. I'm going to be looking for, okay, I got both of the footnotes here. I've got it. This is the animal kingdom, 38. All living beings roaming the earth and winged birds soaring in the sky are communities like yourselves. And footnote 269 is attached to that one. The footnote says God has created living beings like animals, birds, and fish, just like he created human beings. He provides for all and is merciful to all. They all belong to communities and have their systems of living. Yes, they all belong to communities and have their systems of living. Yes, birds and animals and flesh were created by God by special creation, so was man. Um, but the term just like he created human beings, I would say no, not exactly like or just like. Similar, but the difference is human beings, God breathed life into human beings. Um, he did not breathe life into the animals. There's a difference. So breathing life into Adam, God personally breathing life into Adam, is breathing the image of God into Adam. Birds and so forth are not bearing the image of God, but man is bearing the image of God. So there's the difference. All right. We have left nothing out of the record. That's 270. The record refers to the preserved tablet, al-Lau, al-Mahfuz, in which God has written the destiny of his entire creation. I know what that destiny is. I don't know what the Quran is going to say the destiny is. Then to their Lord they will be gathered all together. So both the animal kingdom, because the title here is the animal kingdom. So human beings and the animals would be gathered together, I guess. Anyway, guidance is from God only. 39. Those who deny our signs are willfully deaf and blind, lost in darkness. What signs were they doing? Because this is a reference to that particular time when this was um, either when this was written or this is when it was written was referring back to that time when it was spoken or given to Muhammad or the lifetime of Muhammad, whatever it might be. It's not talking about today specifically. It's talking about that time back then. So what signs would that be? What specific signs? Because I don't know what they are. I don't see them here in the Quran. When I look at signs in the Bible, they're spelled out in the Bible. You know what they are because the Bible tells you what they are. Those who deny our signs are willfully deaf and blind, lost in darkness. So I would be, according to the Quran, willfully deaf and dumb and lost in darkness. God leads whoever he wills to stray and guides whoever he wills to the straight path. Since I am not Muslim and don't believe the doctrines of Islam, then I would be the one who strays according to the Quran. And not the one who is in the straight way, according to the Quran. God alone removes hardships. This is verse 40. I know I'm past 30 minutes. Well, I had that phone call, so I don't know where I am on the clock. I'm just going to read until I need to quit. Come on, Emma. Come here, girl. Come on, girl. Oh, she walked out. Okay. She's looking for me. We have a visiting dog that I keep her from time to time. All right. Ask them, O prophet. Imagine if you were overwhelmed by God's torment or the hour. Would you call upon any other God for help? Let me read again. Ask him, O prophet, imagine if you were overwhelmed by God's torment or, or the hour. I understand God's torment or the hour, um, or maybe for an hour. God tormenting for an hour. I'm not sure. Would you call upon any other God for help? Well, okay, I understand the question. If God were tormenting me, would I call on a different God to help me? No, of course not. Answer me if your claims are true. No, he is the only one you would call. And if he willed, he could remove the affliction that made you invoke him. Only then will you forget whatever you associate with him in worship. Do you know what book out of the Bible answers this verse 40 and 41? It's the book of Job. Because Job's friends, if you read that book, made the same arguments that are made here in 40 and 41. They were making precisely the same arguments, same type of argument. And God rebuked them at the end and told them they were wrong. So just something, if you're looking at Surah 6, 40 and 41, read that and then go back and look at the arguments of Job's friends in the book of Job in the Bible. You'll see the parallel there. And you'll see that Job's friends were wrong in what they were arguing. So, all right. Denier's gradual destruction. 42. I feel like I need to go back before I go to 42 and explain what I'm talking about on 40 and 41. The argument that Job's friends were making about Job is that Job had to have sinned. Job had to have done something wrong for God to do what he was doing to Job. Job was suffering horribly. God ordained it. God allowed it. God allowed Satan to attack Job. But it wasn't because Job did anything wrong. It wasn't because Job had sinned. It's because it served a higher purpose. It served a higher purpose that God had intended. And Job's friends were all arguing, Job, you must have sinned. You must have done something wrong. You need to go to God. You need to confess your sin to God, Job. You need to go to God and tell him you're sorry, Job. He'll restore everything. He will restore you if you'll just go to him, Job. And Job comes back and says, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know why this is happening to me, but I did nothing wrong. And then the friends come back and say, you must have done something wrong, Job. So with that in mind, let me read 40 and 41, and then we'll go to 42. Ask them, O prophet, imagine if you were overwhelmed by God's torment for or the hour, would you call upon any other than God for help? Like Job friends were saying, you got to call on God, Job. Answer me if your claims are true. No, he is the only one you would call. And if he willed, he could remove the affliction that made you invoke him. And Job's friends were saying, just go to him and he will remove the affliction that invoked you, that invoked him against you, right? But this says if he willed, which is a common thing in Islam, the will of God. Only then will you forget whatever you associate with him in worship. So very similar there. All right, denier's gradual destruction. So I'm going to read about my gradual destruction. Here we go. Indeed, we have sent messengers before you, O prophet, to other people who we put through suffering and adversity for their denial. So perhaps they would be humbled. So people suffer so that they would be humbled and then become Muslim, basically. Follow the words of Muhammad. Why did they not humble themselves when we made them suffer? Um, Maybe because they had the real truth and they weren't going to compromise it. There's a possibility, right? Indeed, we have sent, let's see, that's 43. Why did we not humble themselves when we made them suffer? Instead, their hearts were hardened, and Satan made their misdeeds appealing to them. When they became oblivious to warnings, we showered them with everything they desired. Okay. But just as they became prideful of what they were given, we seized them by surprise. Then they instantly fell into despair. So the wrongdoers were utterly uprooted, and all praise is for God, Lord of all worlds. Now, this was a trap that was set, obviously. The trap was they enticed them in with gifts and all this, and then they set them up for an ambush, basically. Um, okay. This is based on the assumption that Muhammad is correct, that Muhammad spoke the words of God, that Muhammad corrected whatever came before, right? Um, that's the assumption here. I'm going to go just a slight bit longer. Only God can relieve affliction. 46. Ask them, O prophet, imagine if God were to take away your hearing or sight, or seal your hearts. Who else other than God could restore it? See, O prophet, how we vary the signs, yet they still turn away. 47. Making sure I'm not missing any footnotes. Ask, imagine if God's punishment were to overwhelm you with or without warning. Who would be destroyed other than the wrongdoers? So there's a lot of talk about destroying non-Muslims, basically. Those who will not convert to the Islamic faith, there's a lot of talk about destroying those people here. The messenger's duty, 48. We have sent messengers only as deliverers of good news and as warners. Good news, you can join Islam. Warning, if you don't, you're going to face destruction. That's what I'm getting here. Whoever believes and does good, there will be no fear for them, nor will they grieve. But those who deny our signs, um, I'm not going to say what's in my head. I'm just going to keep going. Will be afflicted with punishment for their rebelliousness. Okay, so there you go. Very simple. Whatever these signs are, which have still not been revealed, there's nothing on what they are here in the Quran. Whatever they thought they were doing as signs, If you accept those things, then you'll be treated well. If you don't, then you're going to be treated really, really bad. That's where we are here. And of course, would that not be true today? If you accept Islam, you're treated good. If you don't accept Islam, well, you're going to be treated very, very bad. You're going to be punished for not accepting Islam. This is what we're seeing. And we're not talking about necessarily eternal punishment here, although that would be a part of it. I think we're looking at temporal, that the followers of Islam, the followers of the words of Muhammad, would bring physical harm through jihad or whatever it might be to those who reject Islam. No more than a prophet. Let's see, verse 50? Verse 50. Why am I getting a shadow in this book? Here we go. Say, O prophet, I do not say to you that I possess God's treasuries or know the unseen, nor do I claim to be an angel. I only follow what is revealed to me. Say, are those blind to the truth equal to those who can see? Will you not then reflect? Question. How do you know a revelation is from God and not from Satan? How do you know a revelation is from God and not from Satan? That's a question to my Muslim friends. The Quran as a warning, 51. Warn with this Quran those who are awed by the prospect of being gathered before their Lord, when they will have no protector or intercessor besides him. So perhaps they will be mindful of him. Warn with this Quran those who are awed by the prospect of being gathered before their Lord, when they will have no protector or intercessor besides him, so perhaps they will be mindful of him. I'm still not clear on what the warning is. Okay, warn with the Quran those who are awed by the prospect of being gathered before the Lord. So they're awed by the prospect of being gathered by the Lord, when they will have no protector or intercessor besides him. So only God is the protector of them. So perhaps they will be mindful of him. The warning is to be mindful of him. The warning is to be mindful of him. Okay. I guess the warning is to trust in Allah, and not necessarily in your own means, I guess. Influential Meccans versus poor believers. 52. I'm gonna go to 59 and end on we'll pick up on 60 in the next reading. O prophet, do not dismiss those poor believers who invoke their Lord morning and evening, seeking his pleasure. You are not accountable for them whatsoever, nor are they accountable for you. Now I have a footnote. It's 272. I missed 271. Where did I miss 271? I'll go back and find it. 272 says literally seeking his face, seeking his pleasure, seeking his face. Okay. You are not accountable for them whatsoever, nor are they accountable for you. So do not dismiss them, or you will be one of the wrongdoers. In this way, we have tested some by means of others. So those disbelievers may say, has God favored these poor believers out of all of us? Does God not best recognize the grateful? When the believers in our revelations come to you, say, peace be upon you. Your Lord has taken upon himself to be merciful. Whoever among you commits evil ignorantly or recklessly, then repents afterwards and mends their ways. How do they mend their ways? By what process? Then God is truly all forgiving, most merciful. This is how we make our signs clear, so the way of the wicked may become distinct. Okay. I don't see 271. Where did I miss it? I'll just read you the footnote for 271. Once again, it seems like whoever printed this failed to put the location of 271 in the text. So I'll just go ahead and read it for you. Some of the influential leaders of Mecca asked the Prophet to send poor Muslims away if he ever wanted these elites to sit and listen to his message. Oh, these verses were revealed commanding the prophet to keep the company of the poor and not alienate them. So if he kept company with the poor, the elites wouldn't like it and they would not listen to him. Interesting. Okay. Um, I think the footnote's pretty clear. I don't see where it's connected though. Uh, let's go to where were we? 54. When the believers in our revelations come to you, say, peace be upon them. I read that. 55. This is how we make our signs clear, so the way of the wicked may become distinct. I read that. Here we go. Only one God. 56. Say, O prophet, I have been forbidden to worship those you invoke besides God. Say, I will not follow your desires, for I then would certainly be astray and not one of those rightly guided. Um, Forbidden to worship those you invoke besides God. Okay, so only worship God. Yeah. Okay. I will follow your desires, for I then would certainly be astray and not one of those rightly guided. Okay. So basically, follow the God of Islam and don't go astray following others. Despite desperate to be destroyed. 57. Say, O prophet, indeed I stand on a clear proof from my Lord, yet you have denied it. That torment you seek to hasten is not within my power. It is only God who decides its time. He declares the truth, and he is the best of judges. Say also, if what you seek to hasten were within my power, the matter between us would have already been settled, but God knows the wrongdoers best. Basically, it's about timing of judgment, I would imagine, because it talks about torment. The prophet seeking torment for someone, and but being told um, that's Allah determines that, not the prophet. Basically, is what I'm reading here. God's infinite knowledge. 59. With him are the keys of the unseen. No one knows them except him. Keys of the unseen. Okay. And he knows what is in the land, um, in what is in the land and sea. So let's take a look at the keys. The footnote says the five keys of the unseen are mentioned in 3134. Well, let's look at 3134 then. and then we'll finish up. Hope I'm not boring you guys. Um, 31, 34. Apparently not, because you guys seem to be enjoying this from the comment section and from the views. Make sure I got it right. 34, 31, 34. Okay. I'm in 30. So let's go to 31, 34. All right, that's the last verse of well, there's a verse 33 and 31. There's no verse 34. 31, 34. And there's no verse 34 in Surah 31. I'll read 33, I guess. O humanity, be mindful of your Lord and be aware of a day when no parent will be of any benefit to their child. I don't see how this is connected. Talking about the chief deceiver being Satan. So do not let the life of this world deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver or Satan deceive you about God. Okay. All right. All right. The keys of the unseen are mentioned in 31, 34. There's no verse 34 in Surah 31. So I don't know what to tell you. And he knows what is in the land and sea. Not even a leaf falls without his knowledge, nor a grain in the darkness of the earth, or anything, green or dry, but is written in a perfect record. Footnote is 274. See footnote of 638. Okay. It's like reading a code book. When I used to read the law books, the code books, it was constantly reference this code to this code to that code, look up the other code. Uh, code books were horrible about that. All right, 638. All living things roaming the earth and winged birds soaring in the sky are communities like yourselves. We read this earlier. We have left nothing out of the record. Then to their Lord they will be gathered all together. So it's saying, see that footnote for this. Not even a leaf falls without his knowledge, nor a grain in the darkness of the earth, or anything, green or dry, but is written in a perfect record. So footnote 269, 270, God has created living things just like he created human beings. We read about that. The record refers to the preserved tablet. We read about that earlier. Okay. So that wraps it up. When we come back, first one is sleep, the twin brother of death. Wow. Makes me not want to go to sleep tonight. That's scary. All right, anyway. All right. We got a ways to go on this. So it's gonna be a while. So you guys that are enjoying the series, we'll be here for a while. A lot more to read. I'm sorry I'm going through it at a snail's pace, but I kind of have to because you can't fly through a religious source book like this, a book that a religion is based upon, at a SR 71, 2,000 mile an hour pace. You do have to do a snail's pace. You have to go slow and careful because it is a religious text. That it's a different type of reading, a different type of hermeneutic, if you will, than just reading a regular book. Um, this one, the Holy Bible, being by divine revelation of God, it's even you got to discern it even more because that's spiritually discerned. the Bible claims in itself, in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, that the natural man does not understand the things of God, for they are spiritually discerned. It also claims that all scripture is given by inspiration of God, and there's none, all scripture is given by inspiration of God. Um, and then that's in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, I do believe. It claims that the word of God is alive and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even into the dividing asunder of the bones and the marrow and of the soul and the spirit, and is a discerner of thoughts and intents of the heart. You see this language that's talking about this divine nature of the book, a spiritual book. So you can't just fly through it like you're reading a novel. It's a different type of reading. And so that's why I'm not claiming that the Quran is a divine book. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it is a religious book. It's a religious text, and you have to read it carefully. You have to take a snail's pace on it. When I was going through the I forgot what you call it, the Hindu text, the Gita, um, I had to read it carefully and slowly. And so I find that it's true with religious texts when it comes to that. All right. I don't know what else to tell you on that. That's why I'm going slow. I'm going to move on to my other reading that's coming up in the next video. Time is clicking. So I'll catch you next time. Um, Tomorrow I may not be able to get any readings in. We'll see how it goes. I'll try to get something in on Monday. Mondays are very busy as well, but I'll give it my best effort for tomorrow, Monday. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time here on the C Files. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments. I appreciate it.